John. We're in my hometown of Portland, Oregon. We're here to talk to Pacific Northwest music legend, Chris Newman. From the Untouchables to Napalm Beach to Snowbud to Divining Rods, Boo Frog, The Experiment, Chris Newman Deluxe. Chris Newman. So that's a lot right there, and that's barely scratching the surface. What I miss?
Divining Rods, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, in the last since 1980.
What's your first musical memory?
Like in kindergarten phase, like I liked the Skeeter Davis, like End of the World, you know. So I was into the ballads, the sad songs, and Mr. Lonely and all that, and so that's what I was drawn to. But yeah, I take in whatever I heard on the radio.
Well, so how do you start, like playing yourself, from just listening and getting the initial spark into?
First of all, it was seeing the Beatles, like a lot of guys. That night we didn't have to go to church on a Sunday night, and my dad decided that we could stay home and watch Ed Sullivan. And the Beatles were on, and I heard about they were coming. I wasn't quite sure what it was about, but girls at school had the sweatshirts on, and it was exciting. And they were amazing. And my dad, the whole time, he made fun of them. You know, oh, it looks like a bunch of girls. Oh, I could do that. It's a bunch of noise. And I was sitting there going, you don't know what you're hearing. This is like earth shaking. You know, I just knew I wanted to be a Beatle, and that was like at 10 years old.
How'd that work out for you? Did they let you be a Beatle?
No, but then I had a love affair with the Monkees too, because they were right there in your home every week. But I was always, I got my first guitar at 13. My aunt had an old Stella, and they gave that to me, and I just loved that thing. I didn't put it down for a full year. My dad said if I got good at it, he'd buy me an electric or help me get one. So a year later, I stuck with it, and I got a Hagstrom and a little Princeton amp, a Fender.
What year was that?
That was 1967. I was 14. So then I got in a band with some kids down the street. A couple of hooligans. They were thrown out of junior high. They were a big influence on me. The first guys that, their brother had pot, and they had all the cool records and turned me on to the Doors and Hendrix and all this stuff, So I was on my way then. We were called the Trees, and then we became the Magic Mirror. And, yeah.
From just noodling around to realizing I've got to stand up there and play and get it out. When did that?
I always liked to draw cartoons, so I was drawing imaginary scenarios of having a band and playing concerts and traveling. So it was always a dream, and so I figured as soon as we got out of high school, me and my best friend Russ, he played bass. We'd get a drummer and go on the road and get them signed and all that stuff. But he ended up getting married, and so I was off on my own, and I joined a band of older guys named they were called Bodie, and we actually joined the Musicians Union. I was 19, and we played anywhere, like the Legionnaires Hall, and high school dances, and
you do whatever the top 40 was of the day.
Yeah, we did top, but we were the cool. We would pick the cool.
We were doing
stuff.
the Monkees and that side. So it wasn't just all Perry Como and Andy Williams.
It was more like Smoke on the Water was the big one, and some Spirit, and we do some Doors. And
all told, how many bands do you think you did or were in, or
in the last I've been playing guitar this summer. It'll be 50 years. So yeah, I'd say at least 30 bands.
When did you went from Bodie to we're playing top 40, and then when was it like that band's over? You start this other band's like, I'm doing my own songs.
Right. It was that was about 1970. I'd say 3 or around there, or almost 4, because my best friend at the time was Dave Minnick, who's around, he plays now. He's a great bass player. We learned a lot together, and we were always planning. We're going to go to down to Malibu. We're going to play in Santa Monica and get in the LA scene. And I was 20. I think I turned 21 down there. But yeah, we went. Yeah, I did because it was '74. I turned 21, and we even had a gig at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. That was like 4 months in the future. And my drummer and Dave lived in a motel down the ways on the beach, and we lived in Ray's mom's apartment building right on the Malibu beach, and it was a little studio apartment for $175 a month on the beach of Malibu. And we thought, wow, that's expensive, because in Longview it was the same thing would have been like $50 a month. So anyway, and his mom kicked us out of the apartment, and I went and stayed with the guys in the motel, and they couldn't keep it up, the payments any longer, so they all bailed, and I stayed for a while, but then I ended up trying to hitchhike back up north here, and because the money ran out, and nobody was there to play the gig that was going to happen that following winter. It was like 4 months away, which seemed like a long time back then.
So you had a gig and no band, and
so,
no place to live.
Right. So I went back to Longview, and I learned, a lot while I was on my way there. Initially, I went back to my roots, and not after trying to be the greatest guitar player in the world, I came back to Longview and dazzled people with my new runs and skills. And eventually Dave and me met up again. Dave Minnick went back to California because my folks still lived in San Jose, and we tried to get a band together because we fell in love with the new punk rock scene. And my girlfriend worked at the record store in about 1977. She started bringing home records like, Nevermind the Bullocks and all the new wave stuff, Talking Heads and B-52s and Elvis Costello, and so I was turned on to all that, and I kind of threw all the fusion stuff out the window and went back to my gut feeling and music that turned me on, like the Seeds way back in the old days, and primitive rock and the Stooges and the Iggy's The Idiot. It totally blew my mind. So he and I wanted to do stuff more like that instead of Yes and all the things that we were interested in. And we were always loved Zeppelin, but they had kind of a primal, a raw thing going on too, besides all the technical stuff too. So I still love some Zeppelin, and I kind of meshed it all together anyway. So we went to San Jose, and we started the Goners, and we worked hard and got Mark Nelson, who's a local Longview guy, to join up with us, and we were always looking for a drummer, so we go to music stores and put up the notice. Drummer wanted, must play Ultravox,
Must own at least one stick.
Yeah, and most of the guys were afraid of what their friends would think if they joined a punk rock band or a new wave band, so that was hard finding a guy in San Jose that was into it. But
and that's what the Goners was doing, was
yeah, we're trying to
be a West Coast version of the New York stuff that was happening.
Yeah, mostly, yeah, and some of the LA things, and then we all the same kind of thing. Broke up over fighting over food, and paying the rent, and we were all living in one little place, and our girlfriends would fight, and so we split up, and then we met back up north again, and in Longview, because most of us were from that area at the time, and we put together a new better version of what we were trying to do before, and became the Untouchables, and we started playing Portland at the Long Goodbye, 10th and Everett there, in 1980, and our first real gig there was was May 18th, and the day or night that the volcano blew.
Oh yeah.
And we played, the next gig was in June, and with Fred and Tootie of Dead Moon. They were called the Rats, and we moved to Portland, and started to become part of the Portland underground scene. That's where we were playing Long Goodbye one night, and they're right in front of me, standing there watching me close up, was Greg Sage, and I said, "Whoa, don't choke," trying to act like You know, you don't notice.
Would it be cool?
Yeah, and he took me aside afterwards and said he was really impressed with us, and you know, I was like in cloud nine, because Greg Sage was the revered god of Portland punk rock, and then the same thing happened a couple weeks later because they just had come back from New York, and it split up. Sam Henry was the drummer, and he was doing the same thing, standing right in front, like showing his approval, but being cool, and then you know. We eventually, I remember me and Dave watched Sam playing with the Rats. He joined them, and we said, man, he would be perfect for our drummer, you know. And it eventually happened about 3 or 4 months later, I don't know, or whatever it was. Our drummer quit after we kicked out the original bass player because they were buddies, and it morphed into all kinds of things where Mark turned into the bass player. Dave had come up from San Francisco, Minnick, and then he went back. And you know, we were just constantly changing and our sound and our influences and throughout the 80s, and then the club scene really took a dive in '83. We used to have the Met to play at. It was like before Satyricon, it was the Hangout Club. It's now Dante's, the same building as Dante's, but '83 there's nowhere to play, so we went to San Francisco, and we were there a couple of years, and that was a good experience. But seemed there was either then drugs started getting in the way, you know, and messing us up in different ways, and band members quitting, coming and going.
So you might be wondering, with 5 decades of music, how do you get this guy edited down to 10 or 12 minutes to throw up on the internet? And the answer is you don't. There's going to be a part 2. So tune in next time for part 2 of our talk with Chris Newman from Soniscope Studio.